All right. So first full talk. It's also our second international speaker. So we're very pleased that you're here today. So Anton will give a talk about Shorebird, I think, in the end. I already see a hint here. So very interesting. I also think it's the first time we actually have a talk on that. Not sure how many people are currently using Shorebird already. Not a lot of people. I've played around with it a little bit, but I should be using it more, I guess. And I think everyone should be using it more. And I think Anton will tell everything about it today to us. So take the stage, and thanks for being here today and taking the long journey here. Right, thanks.
All right, thanks for having me. Yes, Codepushing my dad off of GitHub. When I did this talk a couple of weeks back in Hamburg and leading up to this, I had some people come up to me and say like, where are the slides? But they... I'm still sharing, so I think
it's going back. Yep, there we are.
There they are.
Nope, there they are.
Just stay there.
Yes, come to my side.
Ja. Nee. Ja. Nee.
And we have an agent fix it.
I saw a site today which is rendahuman.ai, which is a site for AI agents to rent a human to do a task in the real world they can't do. So maybe this is what we'll need.
Let's hope it works.
There's
Nobody move. That's going to be awkward first.
all right. So yeah, Codepushing my dad off of GitHub. What the hell is this even about? So before we start, let me introduce you to my dad. So if you were to meet my dad, he would tell you pretty quickly that he has a podcast. And it's like a podcast where he takes a song and then he talks about the song and what that song means to him, and he has like 3 thoughts on it. So it's a song about music, and so for that he wanted for his Instagram account, but then also as like an episode artwork to have like pictures for each episode for each song. And then also pictures with like some quotes on it and reflecting the song so you can get more traffic on his Instagram account. And so back then I thought, okay, I'll write a Flutter app for him so he can have an easy way to generate these images so that they're always consistent on his account. And I built it as a Flutter macOS app, and that worked all great until I came to the question, how do you actually distribute a one-off macOS app? Before we tackle this, hi, I'm Anton. I'm based in Hamburg. I work at 1,5. We're a climate tech startup. Also, since recently, I'm a GDE for Flutter and Dart. These are my socials if you want to connect afterwards. All right, so back to the question. How do you distribute a one-off macOS app? So what I wanted was to make it easy for my dad. So I wanted to have the classic, you get a DMG, you have the app to drag it to the applications folder, and then ideally not get this dialog. We are not going to talk about this whole process. Just if you're interested, these are the steps you need to follow. But what I actually want to talk about a bit is how do you get this DMG file to your users or your user? couple of things I explored. So I thought about, okay, I will just email him that DMG. So this DMG comes out of a GitHub action. I will just send him that email. However, that is like a 30 megabyte file, not really cool. I even struggled to get email notifications from GitHub actions working directly. So I thought, let's not do email. Thought of doing it maybe public, but then again, I actually just want one user. So do I want to go through all the hassle of Apple review, setting up the App Store account? Did not want to do that. I thought about TestFlight actually. So back when I built this, that must have been like early 2020. Hence also my dad having a lot of time to build or to have a podcast because 2020. And I think TestFlight was just announced for macOS. So that was kind of the issue. It was only just announced. And then again, it's like the 90-day period. Apps can only live on TestFlight. So I thought, and also for public testers, you'll have to go through Apple review. So I thought, okay, let's not do TestFlight. So I came to actually GitHub Actions because I was already building it in GitHub. So I could just do a release with the artifact on GitHub, and that worked out well. Until you realize that when you tell your dad to, just go to GitHub and download the artifact, that does not really work. Like GitHub does not have a good UX if you're not used to the UX of GitHub. And also there's this issue, right? Back like around a year ago or so, I talked with Frey actually about this exact issue that I'm having, that I can't get my dad to really use GitHub to download this artifact. And so Frey was like, why don't you just use Shorebird for this? So I did. So who of you has heard of Shorebird? Who has you, that's almost everybody, that's very good. Who has used Shorebird? That's almost no one. So basically, Shorebird is doing code push for Flutter. What does that mean? Like code push? In a nutshell, it basically means you can it allows you to change your Dart code without having to do a full-on new release. And the cool thing is it's available for all platforms where you have potential limitations in how you can update the app, because so it supports basically all the Flutter targets except for web, because on web you are much more in control which version of the app your users actually get. So in Shorebird, there are three concepts. You kind of have to understand how Shorebird works or what the concept is. So the first thing is a release. So this is, you build your release using the Shorebird app or the Shorebird builder, more or less. And that gives you your release. And then you distribute that release through the App Store, Play Store, or in my case, through GitHub Actions. And then you do something, what is a Shorebird patch, which is to swap out a part of your code that you change, where you fix a bug or you add a new feature. And then you send that patch to Shorebird, and Shorebird will distribute that to the app and then run basically that part of your app interpreted with the new code. So in practice, let's go back to the example of my dad's app. So there's a thing called create Instagram image, and it generates an image with an aspect ratio of 1. Now, if you are on Instagram, you realize that 1 year ago or so, Instagram actually changed the aspect ratio in the feed or the profile grids of people. And for my dad, that was a nightmare. So with Shorebird, we can now do Shorebird patch and basically swap that square aspect ratio out to the new aspect ratio and generate new images. And then with Shorebird, I don't have my dad to go to GitHub to get that new release, but I can just update it straight away. If you're now wondering, okay, yeah, that sounds like a lot of stuff that Shorebird is doing, that must be a lot of work to integrate. It actually is not. So the first step you'll need to do is install the Shorebird CLI. I actually thought that you would just add it from pub, but it's like a relatively long command, so please just go to shorebird.dev and just copy the install command. And then it's Shorebird init that will add all the necessary files that Shorebird needs, adding the secret, setting up the project in the CL interactively. And then instead of flutter build -- release, you actually just do Shorebird release and then the platform. You can also pass all arguments that you can pass to a Flutter build command, like specific environments, flavors, Dart entry points, you can pass all of these commands to the Shorebird release command, and that will build this initial Shorebird release. And then when you want to make a new patch, so because you added a feature or you fixed something, you basically, instead of creating a new release with Flutter release and handing that into the stores, you can just do Shorebird patch, and that will both build the patch as well as uploading it to the Shorebird server to deploy it to the users. And actually, Shorebird, once it's integrated into your app, by default will handle everything automatic. So in the background, it will check, hey, is there a new patch available? It will download that patch, and then the way it works, because it's like quite nested inside of a custom engine fork, you'll have to restart the app. But so Shorebird handles that when your users restarts the app the next time, that patch is automatically applied and your users have this. However, in a lot of scenarios, you may want to have a bit more control over this whole process. And Shorebird offers a package called Shorebird Codepush for this. And so with that, you can easily check, hey, is there an update available? And then if it's outdated, you can say, hey, update, this will give you a new status. And so it will tell you, hey, okay, I've downloaded this, I'm ready to apply this on the next restart, so you can prompt your users to restart your app. So this is exactly what I did. So now when there's a new version available in the artwork generator, I show this nice little snack bar for him to prompt it to restart. And then also finally, since 2 weeks, he's finally on the new Instagram format. So I hope you understood that adding Shorebird is quite easy. It's literally like 3 commands, and then you're it, and they have quite good documentation. I suspect, though, that this specific use case of having a single user macOS app who is also your dad is not really most of your use cases. So I also wanted to talk a bit about, in the second half, about how we use Shorebird at 1.5. So I suspect not a lot of people know about 1.5 here. So we are like a climate tech startup. We do energy installations of like solar, battery, heat pumps, as well as like energy tariffs. And our apps for both our end customers as well as our installers are built with Flutter. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about there is, how do we deal with issues we have in our app? Let's say there's a bug. Ideally, it doesn't happen. But if there's a bug, we have some ways of dealing with this. So the first way is to just have a feature flag to just turn the feature off, because we know there is no broken feature if there's no feature. Another option always is obviously to fix it on the backend, especially if the bug is in the backend, because let's be real, most of the time the bug is actually in the backend. Let the backend fix it. However, obviously this is bad if the bug is actually in the front end and then you asked like a weird workaround in the backend. Also versioning, not so nice. And then obviously there's also the option of creating a new release. But this obviously takes time. You have to, depending on your setup, do quite a lot of manual clicking around to get the actual release, and then you have to make sure that your users actually update. And so we now have Shorebird in the mix as well. And so with Shorebird, it allows us to actually solve the issue inside of the app. So we're solving the issue where it actually happens. We don't have to turn off the feature completely, and we don't have to rely on Apple or Google being quick with pushing the update out. So overall now, basically from merging a PR with a fix to sending it to Shorebird and QAing it and then having it available for our customers, we get down to 30 minutes. So I'm not sure in the DORA metric where time to remedy an issue puts that, but I think 30 minutes, we're quite happy with that, because it's definitely quicker than asking a backend dev, or worse, asking Apple to release your version. So how do we do this? How do we get to this under 30-minute mark? First of all, forgot the slide is coming as well. For the user, we do the very same concepts I'm doing for my dad. Like, we'll notify there's something requiring your attention, and then, hey, update the app, restart it, provide the button. As a tip, we looked at a bunch of packages on pubdev that tell you they will quit the app and reopen it. This one looks quite vibe coded, but does the job brilliantly. So terminate, restart. Yes, so how do we make sure that this actually gets to the user? So we develop on main, and we do our commits on main. And then at some point, we do our normal release cycle. So right now, we do them every 2 weeks. And we tag our release with the .0 at the end. And that will then trigger a Shorebird release, and is also the version we hand in to Apple and Google as a review. And so then we do our normal work on main, we'll add new features for the next release. We will fix a bug that comes up, which then this commit, we can cherry pick this to our release branch, and we'll tag it with a .1 patch version or increased patch version, which will then do a Shorebird patch, which then automatically our QAs can test, because Shorebird has like tracks which you can use, or which we use, for example, for having a certain track for our QA people, so they can validate that the fix actually does what it's supposed to do. Then we can migrate it to the customer patch, but you could also, for example, have a specific track for like really, really necessary updates the user have to do, and then instead of showing just a simple card, you may just block the whole screen and say, hey, please update the app in order for it to be working. So this is our flow. It is quite simple, I think, and it works really nice. And so, as I mentioned earlier, you can replace every Dart code in your app. So it's not just like any Dart code. And so last year, we extended our business to Sweden. And so you can see like the price, it's euro per kilowatt hour. That's roughly -3 cents this user had per consumed kilowatt hour. So he was actually earning money by consuming energy. But you can see it's just the price, the currency that is in Swedish. Everything else is in English, because we actually did not have the Swedish translation and the Swedish app, or the app was not ready in Swedish when we rolled out, but we wanted to roll out. So we rolled out this only in English. But then using Shorebird, we actually added the full support for Swedish and rolled the Swedish support out via Shorebird without having to do the full release, which works because it's just Dart. You can just exchange it. So, as I said, I hope that you got a feel about what you can do with Shorebird, how you can integrate it into your workflows. But I hope that you also took away some other things of this talk. So first of all, make things easy for your user and not for yourself. I think there would have been probably ways to get the app to my dad a lot easier. Maybe I should have gone the email route or just in a Google Drive or whatever. On the other hand, I wouldn't be standing here probably if it weren't for that. Also, explore unconventional tool usage. Like, I've talked with Shorebird about this, and that was not the use case they envisioned when they built the tool, but it works. And so I'm pretty sure there are more tools out there that you can use for different use cases. And then lastly, talk with people about your issues that you're having. So as I mentioned, I talked with Frey about this whole situation, and we came up with, okay, yeah, we can just use Shorebird for this. And I'm sure that when we talk with real people about these things, we can find a solution. So thank you. Once again, these are my socials. Yeah, look at the Shorebird documentation. They recently updated it. There's a lot of stuff there. Also, you can use this code. I'm not getting anything out of this. I think it's just that they know that you came from this talk, and you will also get a month of free from the team and business plan. If you're interested in what we're doing at 1K5, check out our job space. We actually have a job opening for Flutter right now. And then if you want to make my dad really, really happy, go check out his podcast. So yeah, thank you.